Hey everybody, welcome back to Frank Conversations. My name is Zoe. Thank you so much for everybody who subscribed and keeps commenting in the comment sections and likes the content. Please, if you have not subscribed and you like the content, please do subscribe. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. So basically today I want us to talk about the looming war that's happening in the Middle East that's probably going to affect us in South Africa. And I want us to just look at how it might affect us in South Africa. Okay. So are we ready? Really? Are we ready for a war in South Africa? If there was a war that erupts anywhere in the world, are we ready? You know? So if you have not been aware, or if you're not aware, or if you are aware, there is a war happening. Not even a war happening. It's really looming. Like it probably has started, or it's like on the verge of starting in the Middle East between Israel and fighter groups such as Hamas, Hezbollah, and to a large extent Iran. Right? Okay, so you'll understand that for years we have been told that terrorists are the people who live in the Middle East and they are of Arab descent. And that's what we have been told by the media. That's what we have been seeing throughout the years, for a long time. And we had no other alternative to say, okay, we hear that the media is doing this or saying this, but are there any other alternatives that are saying something else? But now in 2024, we understand that the media is not entirely objective, and we should actually do our own research to find, the truth, really. And what it's starting to look like is that the people who have been telling us for years that the people who are of Arab descent and from the Middle East are the ones that are terrorists are actually the people who have been telling us or giving us that information are actually the ones that are terrorists. The people who are in those countries are not necessarily terrorists. And why am I saying this? It's because of the terrorist acts, or the acts that look very much like terrorist acts that countries in the West, as well as Israel, are doing towards these people or towards these countries that are in the Middle East. So recently, a couple of days ago, Israel Mossad spy agency planted explosives in 5,000 Taiwan-based, Taiwan-made pagers, like a pager. Yeah, they planted explosives in those pagers, right? And those pagers were ordered by the Lebanese group, the Hezbollah group, a few months ago, right? And those pagers actually were detonated on Tuesday. So basically they exploded on Tuesday, okay? And now when we look at these things, the Taiwan-based gold Apollo pager manufacturer, the president said, no, they had nothing to do with it. In fact, those pagers were not made by them. They were made by a Budapest-based company, BAC Consulting KFT, which has a license to use its brand. And now this company is based in Hungary. Okay, just follow me. This situation here, the detonation or the explosion, it killed 9 people. And it injured about 3,000 people, right? Including some of the group fighters, okay? And Iran's envoy to Beirut. Okay, there was an envoy that was going to Beirut. Okay, now, these 3,000 pages exploded at the same time. So what they did was they received a coded message, and a coded message was sent to them, and they simultaneously exploded. And the one thing that I can tell you about these countries that have been giving us all this information for all these years, they have very sneaky ways of attacking people. And what they do is they usually attack civilians, which is a problem for a lot of us. And we find it very difficult to empathize with them when they lose, or when their people get hurt, or injured or whatever because of the things they do to other people. Naturally, if you keep hurting people and people, hurt you back, then the rest of us are watching like, but you hurt them. What did you think was going to happen? You've been doing this for years and years and years. And what did you think was going to happen? But it turns out that the Mossad, the spy agency, they have been making pagers and electronics, all right, electronic devices themselves, and inserting explosives in these things, right? And they've been inserting these explosives in them through network companies in Europe. So it was not just this one. So for argument's sake, let's just say we don't know which devices from which country has explosives, if the Mossad has been doing this for years. And if this is some kind of protection for them, or if this is some kind of lick back for them, then we don't know. No country really knows what is in the device, because apparently this device is so small, it cannot really be detected. So now that's where we stand with that situation. Like a day later, in fact, on the day the president of the Taiwan-based company was giving a statement, ICOM, a Japanese communications equipment making company, had its walkie-talkie detonated in Lebanon, okay, on Wednesday, okay? And so now, out of this detonation, 25 people were killed and 450 were injured, right? And you must understand that some of these people were at funerals and in supermarkets. So it doesn't matter where these people are at, which is why the issue now is, why are you hurting civilians? If this is a war, why are you hurting civilians? It's looking it's looking more like a terrorist attack than it is a war, right? And so this is where the situation is now, where I'm saying to you, there's a war looming. And here in South Africa, we are busy dancing, but that's what it is. Imagine if it was Russia who did this. The world would have stood still. The West would have went into a full-blown attack on Russia. But because it's Israel who did this, America is touching here, leaving there, looking the other way and trying to not really attend to what's going on because it's Israel, and we have to just be okay with that Israel can just keep hurting, keep killing civilians that have absolutely nothing to do with the war they have with these fighters or any of that, But we must just be quiet. All right. Now, in South Africa, let's get back home. Let's take it back home now. In South Africa, we have devices from these countries. Okay. We have devices from Taiwan. We have devices from Europe. We have devices. And so, who's to say any of these devices have been tampered with? And what is going to take for these devices to be detonated? We don't know. We don't know. One of our biggest companies that has products that we use, we use their products, is Clover, right? South Africans love Clover. Clover was bought by an Israeli bottling company in 2019. If you look in your house, you have a Clover product. What are we eating? What are we drinking? Are we safe? Are we not safe? Why am I saying this? Because we took Israel to ICJ. Why are we saying this? Because South African citizens and civilians are like, no, we are actually in support of Palestine. So how is this going to work out? Also, the big question is, the devices that were sent to Lebanon, was Lebanon the only country that received those devices? We don't know. We don't know, because it just took a message to say, let it rip. And it ripped. you know. So by the looks of things, Israel wants a war, you know, and we are witnessing it like firsthand. And South Africa needs to be aware of these kinds of things. I know the media is not saying any of these things because we all know that they own South Africa, you know, and much as we want to ignore or pretend that global issues don't affect us, they do. They do. How do they affect us? We have an ICJ hearing that we took Israel to. We have an ICJ court case that we took Israel to. The GNU, part of it, majority of it, according to me, is for Israel. Some of them are for Palestine, right? We are part of BRICS, okay, which is not part of Israel, okay? We have unprotected borders, all right? Most of our political parties have Israeli sponsors or donors, all right? And then we have Israeli investors who own majority of Sandton, right? And our military is practically obsolete. So how do we protect ourselves? At least Lebanon had Hezbollah. Who do we have? How do we get out of this situation? Because people are fighting ugly now. If we, like I said in the previous video, that it is alleged that Israel is trying to lobby the US to let South Africa drop the case. If South Africa doesn't drop the case, then what happens to South Africans, the largest consumers of Clover? What happens to us? What happens to our kids? So I think South Africa needs to open their eyes to global issues and how they affect us. And I know in South Africa, I watch the news all the time. They actually not even bothered. They are not bothered with telling the citizens of South Africa what is going on globally that could affect them and how to protect yourself from certain things that might be an issue to your survival or your life or your family's life. So, like I said, who do we have? Definitely not the SANDF. Definitely not the government. So let's talk about these kinds of things in the comments. Let me know what information you have and how we can like compare what we know. And let's talk about these things that we don't generally hear about in the news. Thank you so much for listening, and let's keep our eyes let's keep our ears on the ground. Let's keep our eyes everywhere, because there's something big coming. And I pray that South Africa is ready for whatever it is that's coming, because it's not looking good anywhere in the world. It's not. So let's see what happens. Let's see how we protect ourselves, because it's a lot. You know, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And please do not forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe and like and share. Thank you. Peace.